The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
Somebody knows the story plot. Somebody knows the story plot of the Patty Jenkins movie, but that's not what we're talking about today. No, friends, we are going to be talking about the top Star Wars stories of 2020. Happy holidays. Goodbye, 2020. You've been a dumpster fire of a year. I'm not going to miss you one bit. Hi, it's David with Beyond the Blast Doors, and you can tell that I'm in a great mood. We're doing something really different here on Beyond the Blast Doors Live, going live at noon because the work schedule changed. And so we're going to be talking about the top Star Wars stories of the year, my top stories, other people's top stories. We're going to rank all the future Star Wars content on Disney+. We're going to talk about what we got for Christmas, and we're going to answer your live Twitter questions. But of course, I don't do this by myself. Absolutely not. It's not just me here. I've got friends. We've got Arzu Amin with us. Arzu,
Hello.
How are you doing? Happy holidays.
Good. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. You know, we did not get to do a Christmas show. Had a bit of a personal conundrum happen, and so we skipped out last week. We're back this week. We also have Mr. Pete Fletzer. I pulled him up exactly when he had a cup in his face.
Sipping my coffee. See,
I did that deliberately.
When you do a midday show, you don't drink bourbon necessarily. Maybe, I mean, it is holiday break. I'm sipping some
Don't
coffee.
drink bourbon straight. You can put it in your coffee.
Right. I could probably, maybe I have. You don't know. That's what, there's the excitement for the show today. How's it going, everybody?
You know,
Happy, merry.
Yeah, like happy, like whatever you celebrate, you know, you can
Right.
celebrate whatever you do, or maybe you don't celebrate anything at all, and that's okay. This is just an excuse for us to have some fun here in the mid-afternoon. Wild. You know, I try to tease it off the top. Apparently, Chris Pine knows the story to Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie, and I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care if he's teasing us. I don't care if he knows exactly what it is. I don't care if he freaking makes a video about it, doing a reaction to the story, and then a person from
Not
Lucasfilm
going
makes
there.
fun of him for doing
my
it,
God,
and then he
no.
makes a response video. But I don't care. Friends, we're just talking Star Wars here. This is our weekly therapy, and I really pulled out all the bells and whistles here. We got Christmas lights, and we got a wreath.
It's
I
beautiful.
really like our wreath. It's a nice wreath.
It's very Christmassy, and I love it. It's nice. You know,
Well,
we only have a
right,
couple days.
that's it.
Like our tree comes down this weekend, right after
Whoa.
Christmas Day or New Year's Day. Gone. It's like it disappears overnight.
See, I leave it up to the Epiphany. So that's a religious thing. But, you know, I just like the excuse. You know, I wait to put up my lights until about Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah,
And so I like to, if I'm going to pull all the crap up, I'm going to enjoy it. But I think it's going away next week. So I lost that battle. Okay. Hey, so we got a lot to cover in the show. Real quick, want to shout out some people in the live chat with us. We got Matthew, we got Sam, Apprentice Ewok with us right now. So this is really exciting. Thank you for joining us. I know that this is not our usual time that we go live. Do us a favor real quick, if you can. Hit that share button and spread the word on social media that we are live right now talking Star Wars here on this Wednesday afternoon. Of course, if you're not able to watch live, welcome in for the rewind. Maybe you're listening on the podcast form. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find Beyond the Blast Doors live. First topic of the week. I'm really excited about this. We made the decision that we were going to talk about our top Star Wars stories of 2020. And so I asked Pete and Arzu to decide what their favorite story is. And we've got some bangers. I'm really excited to discuss these stories because this is very much, well, what is interesting to us? And so I'm going to go ahead and kick that off, if that's okay, everybody.
Love it.
I think this is going to be a fun conversation. My top Star Wars story for 2020 is Ahsoka Lives: The Return of Clone Wars. And I'm really excited about this because, guys, I remember 2013 very clearly. This was in March. The articles drop online. Disney had just acquired Star Wars.
Yep.
And they were putting Star Wars Clone Wars. They were taking it off Cartoon Network. And there was like, oh, maybe they'll continue it over here on Disney XD. I don't remember that quite happening. We also found out that Star Wars Detours was not going to happen. And I remember it being like really emotional. And then there's like the whole, well, George Lucas has been working on episode 7 for a while now. And so Disney's going to do episode 7. And so you're like conflicted. You're like, well, I wanted to see this thing finished, but we are going to get to continue the what we call now the Skywalker saga. So it was like a really mixed bag.
Yeah.
And you fast forward to Star Wars Celebration 2019 in Chicago, and you get it revealed that they're going to close it out. And then you get this past spring, where we actually get it to drop on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Really exciting for me. I think it's some of the best Star Wars of the last decade. Arzu, I'm kind of curious. Is this a valid storyline for my top 2020 Star Wars story?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess your story is that Clone Wars came back this year, right? Like,
And it was great.
Which is perfectly fine. And it was awesome. So, like, I didn't have as much of a wait as everybody else because I didn't start Clone Wars until, like, just after The Force Awakens came out. Because I'm like, okay, I want more. So I started, like, Clone Wars then. So I didn't have as much of a wait, but I was really excited when it came back. And I thought it was done really well. So, yeah, I think it's a valid story.
Pete, you and I have talked about this a lot, where I feel like the last 4 episodes, that Mandalore arc, that is some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in the last decade. Is this a big highlight of 2020 for you? Of all the bad, this to me is one of the good things.
Well, there's a couple things about it that I think is great. First of all, you're right. That last 4 episodes really brought it together. And I think that's really the most important thing to me is, when Clone Wars was first announced, I didn't watch much Clone Wars when it first hit. And boy, did I miss it. And I'm really glad I caught up on it. But what I think is so great about those last episodes is it did such a great job of literally connecting, like scenes for scene, like connections to what has been called the best prequel story, and to show those connections to the Revenge of the Sith was great. And it reaffirmed to me what I had thought. And when I think about Clone Wars, I think of it as Ahsoka's story, and it closed the whole thing up, and it really illustrated this was Ahsoka's arc, the entire series.
I got a sweet spot for it. It's what I grew up with. I had this in high school. I had it throughout college. And then to see the story finished was really awesome. And the way that it connects so nicely, seamlessly with Revenge of the Sith is a real treat for me. So that is my top Star Wars story for 2020. Arzu, you have your top story for 2020. And I don't want to give this away. I'll just go right to the thumb.
Yeah. So mine's a newer story.
All right, so talk to me about it. Why is your top story Hayden back for Obi-Wan?
Okay, because first of all, like, y'all know how much I love Obi-Wan, how much I've been looking forward to this series, how much I've been hoping for, that sort of Obi-Wan angst over what happened with Anakin in the series. And this was all like a pipe dream. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to happen because that's not what the Kenobi book was like. Then they confirmed that, like, it's not a cameo. Hayden's, like, coming back for this. So I don't know how significant the role is going to be, but it's so much bigger than I think I thought it would be. So that's why it's my most exciting story, because, I'm a prequel kid. Those are the characters I grew up with. And they're coming back together for this, the finest of Star Wars stories. So that's why.
I freaking love it. Pete, what's your reaction to that? Because I remember, like, watching the Disney call. Like, I was watching with Scotty and Josh, and we lost our minds.
Scotty is still hyperventilating at this moment. I think
he's still shouting over on the Beyond the Blast Doors YouTube channel. You can watch his reaction right now, 2,000 views. Hey, but what was your excitement level? Because that really rattled the Star Wars community.
It did. And I mean, so as you guys all know, as you can tell by the white beard, I was with Star Wars back in the 70s and the 80s. And to me, when I first heard about the Obi-Wan series, I honestly was like, I don't know if I need to know that story. But I have really come around to the concept. And then when we heard that Hayden was coming in, it was like, it's going to be all flashbacks from the Clone Wars. I can deal with that. However, she did not only did she say Hayden's coming back, she said it's the rematch of the century. So the way I'm looking at it is going to answer 2 really important questions. And when I sort of put my fan hat on, I really think about, there's 2 lines, one from A New Hope and one from Return of the Jedi, that hopefully will be answered, and I imagine will be. The first was during the lightsaber battle on the Death Star. Vader says to Obi-Wan, "You should not have come back." Well, we know he didn't. That line in retrospect is a disconnection, right? So we're probably going to see that. Number 2 is in Return of the Jedi, when Luke meets up with Vader. Vader says, "Obi-Wan once thought as you did." Well, Obi-Wan, in our minds, for the last 20 something years, hasn't seen Vader And when would he have thought or tried to do anything? So it'll be really cool to see how they connect that. I'm certain those lines will be drawn and will become bright lines for us to see how the story works. And so from that perspective, that's why now that Hayden's coming in, I'm really excited. I can't wait to see it.
Just from like my perspective, I don't think those are unanswered, which is why I'm interested to see what they're going to do, because you know, you shouldn't have come back. If we go with this, that they haven't seen each other since Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
The last time Anakin sees Obi-Wan, he's quite literally walking away from him while he burns to death.
Yes.
And he's like, "You're dead to me. I hate you." And he's walking away. So oh, now you come back 20 years later. There's that. And then Obi-Wan once thought, as you did, Obi-Wan is fighting to bring Anakin back to the light there. When Anakin is so far gone, he's not listening anymore. Yeah. So and I don't feel in that mindset of Mustafar, then to me, like, that's how those lines line up. Sure. So with that in mind, then what is this rematch of the century going to be?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I don't disagree. I think you can make that connection. I think that's one of the things about Star Wars that's really been very cool as we're revisiting old things, is lines that we had in our head, we had to create that story for. The question is, will the new headcanon fit with us, and will it be comfortable? And I think that's a challenge that they'll face over the next coming, years.
Yeah, I think headcanon for me is going to be really messed up, because I thought one of the things that Revenge of the Sith and going back and doing the prequels did so well was it put so much, for a lack of a better word, gravitas into that moment where Vader's like, I haven't felt this presence since. Right. And then you're like, oh, Mustafar, holy crap, this is like a 21-year thing that's reemerging inside of him. Right, and now it feels like, oh, maybe he thinks since I thought I killed him, since I got my revenge on Kenobi. So I think that's really interesting. And yeah, I mean, Arzu, Pete, this is a very difficult challenge that I thrust upon us here with just days left of the year to pick one story that means the most to us. But I think that if we did a top 3 or a top 5, our ideas would be on the same. We would share a lot of the same stories, and I don't think that's any different here for Pete. And Pete, talk to us. The Revenge of the Fett. Why is this your top story of the year?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I think back to when we were doing streaming Star Wars during the Clone Wars, and we had special guest Clayton Sandell on the show, and it was at that moment that literally just before we went on, I remember making a thumbnail or some pictures right before we got on. We literally heard that Tamara Morrison was coming back, and our thoughts were, oh, he's going to be Rex, or he's going to be a clone because we know Ahsoka, blah blah blah. I thought there was a Boba Fett chance, but when he showed up at the end of that episode, it wasn't Baby Yoda level, but it was pretty hot to see him there, and we all knew he's coming back for that armor. And then the way he came back in those episodes, that first episode where he came back in the on Typhon, he was perfect. He was badass. He was the Boba Fett that all of us in our heads had created in our sandboxes with our other action figures, and then the repainted armor. And then of course it all culminates with what I think, and I've seen all the Marvel movies, the best end credit scene of all time. And probably just because I'm such a Star Wars nerd and Return of the Jedi is an important movie to me. But for him to walk into Jabba's, first of all, seeing Jabba's palace again from the outside, the only thing missing was that frog spitting his tongue out and killing something, and then walking in and just being so Boba and sitting down. And the other thing that I love, that I want to get more and more and more of, is the theme song that they've created for Boba Fett. It is fantastic. It's perfect music. And so there was just so much excitement. And the other thing that I really love, and I think Arzu, you'll be able to associate with this probably a little bit more than David, is that there were so many people who were like, Boba Fett's overrated. And I was kind of that too. I always thought he looked cool and wanted more. But now people like you, Arzu, if I'm correct, you are so excited to see him come back, right?
Night and day. Let me tell, like, when Boba Fett showed up at the end of episode 9, I don't know if I said this on streaming Star Wars, but I might have going like, please be Rex. Please be Rex. I want this to be, I don't want Boba Fett. Yeah. I actively do not want Boba Fett here. By Tython, I'm like, so all aboard the Boba Express. Like, I'm all about Boba Fett now. Like, it just totally flipped. And I'm so excited for the Book of Boba Fett. Like I definitely thought he was overrated until 3 weeks ago. I'm like, I do not see the appeal. And I think if we never see him again, that's a good thing.
And that's
like,
a success story.
To the story in from a certain point of view. I love the author who wrote it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this properly, but I skimmed it. But I might go back and read it properly now.
I think that's just another testament to them going back and doing The Mandalorian and doing this live action Star Wars on Disney Plus for fans like you, Arzu, and to give them an experience like you felt. Let's give you a reason to care about this thing you didn't before. The expansiveness of the Disney Plus Star Wars experience is just so powerful, and I think that's why we're so lucky to be in this point as Star Wars fans. Guys.
And
I realize it's important to make people care, like with people like characters like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Like when you tell that story well and you give somebody a reason to care, you bring them on board. So
totally. And I think that's one of the cool and important things that they did with Boba Fett in the end of the series was they made him somebody that we care about suddenly, because we're going to be without Grogu, right? Grogu's gone as far as we know. He may show up again, but we need a character that we care about. And why not care about this guy who seems like maybe he's redeeming himself, or at least an interesting anti-hero that you can get behind. So sort of a Tony Soprano type. So I'm excited, and I love the way they did it. They did it. They couldn't have done it better. I really don't think they could have done it better.
I think we all did a really nice job with this. What is your top Star Wars story of 2020? Let us know down in the live chat or the comment section to continue this Star Wars conversation. Goodness, tripping over myself. Maybe it's the beard. Maybe it's this holiday break beard. I don't know if you can see that.
It makes your jaw harder to move a little bit.
Yeah, it gets in the way. It weighs things down. There are a lot of folks in the live chat just having a blast, and it makes me so happy to see this while we're doing this live show. It's episode 102, if you care. I figured we don't care about the count again until we get to like 185. I don't know. But let's see. Who do we got here that we want to bring on here? We got so many people having such a great time. We got Matthew, hopefully starting in the end of 2020 when we'll get a constant supply of Star Wars on Disney Plus. I mean, we're already gearing up we already had multiple Star Wars properties on Disney Plus this year. I think it could only become more consistent moving forward. So pumped for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Deborah Chow is showrunner. Hayden coming back, like Arzu mentioned. Ewan reprising his role. It's going to be great. Love that enthusiasm. Star Raptor has the same thing. So I think it's interesting because we are going to get to ranking all the future Star Wars Disney Plus stuff. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see, I made my list. And so Arzu and Pete are going to tell me where I'm right and where I'm wrong. That's coming up in less than 15 minutes. So be excited for that. I'm kind of curious to see where I get ripped apart and where I get praised. If I get praised,
you're never wrong. You just a little off, but that's okay.
I'm always right from a certain point of view. Isn't that the backdoor saying that we use as Star Wars fans? Aggressively relaxing. This is hard. My favorite was probably the Lego Holiday Special. Wow.
That was great.
all right.
My voice cracked on that, but that's a great moment. Like, that was such a fun surprise.
Yes.
Arzu did a great review of it too. You can watch that and read that on beyondtheblastdoors.com. What else are people saying? Apprentice Ewok, the Siege of Mandalore was amazing. The way Maul explains how everything is already in motion is one of my favorite moments of the whole series. Yeah, I think that's interesting. There is this bad guy who knows the master plan, and he's trying to undo it just for his selfish gain.
Yes.
And I think that I this might be a stretch, but I see some of what Maul has done, even in what Boba Fett has done. Like, Boba Fett is kind of out for himself. He's helped the Mando in season 2, but now he's assumed the throne. And I'm very curious to see what he does with this power on Tatooine in the book of Boba Fett. I think that's going to be very interesting to see how that all unfolds. God, I love Star Wars. It's so good. Okay. Hey guys. So this is the next topic here on the show. And it's kind of like it's the thumb of the show. This was going to be the original topic, but then things changed. Will we get more Luke Skywalker in Star Wars? And it's a little bit misleading here. Will we get more Luke Skywalker in the near future in Disney Plus Star Wars? But you just can't fit all of that into a thumbnail, or you can't fit all that into a lower third. And so this is the kind of the discussion that I want to have here. And Arzu, I want to start with you on this because we know where I stand on Luke Skywalker. I would love a Luke Skywalker 2 or 3 seasons, something to happen. But some people say less is more. Yeah. Based on what we got here at the end of Mandalorian season 2, Arzu, where do you stand with whether or not you think we will get more Luke Skywalker in the near future?
I'm a less is more person when it comes to Luke. Like, I think you guys remember before the episode aired that I said I didn't want him to show up at all. I didn't mind what they did because he serves his function here. We know he's starting a Jedi school, and like we know that the higher a pedestal he's on, you know, with this benevolent Jedi warrior who wants to train all the kids, the higher of a pedestal he's on, the sadder it is when he falls. So if they want to fill in some of that space that people have kind of been speculating about between Return of the Jedi and The Last Jedi, then that's fine to do it in little bits like this. But I stand by what I said, that he does overtake any story he's in. And I think that's what happened here, because that's more than 50% of what we talk about when we talk about this episode. So I also think they're not planning on bringing him back, just because if they were, they probably would have recast him. They wouldn't have CGI'd him. So I think they sort of realized too that he dominates whatever he's in. So if you just CGI a Luke into the story, then you can use him sparingly and not sort of make him not give him his own series, which I think is what the speculation would have been if they'd recast. So
I think you have a really good point. And I was glad that I got the graphic in the right place by the time you were done making your point. So that was really smooth. Hey, it's 2020 and it's been a dumpster fire every year. And guess what? Sometimes the graphics still don't work. Arzu, I can roll with you on that. And I have to be fair, because even though I so badly would love more Mark Hamill on camera, on set, de-aged as Luke Skywalker, because for me it worked. I got to go back to think of what I said about Vader. Pete, you'll remember. I was someone who, like, I would love a hour and a half, 2 hours of Vader just ripping through Jedi Post Order 66. But Vader seems to serve the story better when it's less than more, because that's how he served the original trilogy and in some ways the prequels. So when I pose this question to you, Pete, do you think we will or should we get more Luke Skywalker in the near future on Disney Plus? What's your fan gut telling you?
Yeah, my fan gut says no, we're not going to get more. And I think, just like you, Arzu, I think less is more, but I think it serves a slightly more powerful and important purpose here. Again, keep in mind, Dave Filoni doesn't put a word on paper that doesn't make sense or that doesn't drive toward the next part of the story, whatever that is. And in this case, Luke's next part of his story is The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. And what we saw with Luke in The Last Jedi, and one of the problems people had with it, was he was a failed flawed human being. And he absolutely was. And I think his flaws were shining through in this, right? He came in and he went full on Darth Vader on those droids, which he had to, by the way. And I loved it because it was very Clone Warsy, right? A Jedi slashing through droids was really important, really cool.
So they were all about to die. He kind of had to.
He had to, right? He was doing a rescue. I like the way they mirrored Vader from Rogue One. But most importantly, a few episodes before, a former Jedi, Ahsoka, said, I can't train him because he's gained attachments, and I've seen what happens when that happens. Well, sure enough, Luke walks in, and Grogu is clearly attached to Din, to the Mandalorian, and Luke even goes so far as to mention he wants your permission, and builds that tension, that same exact goodbye, if you will, or a similar goodbye to Anakin and Shmi. And in his hubris, the hubris that he talked about in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, he decided he was going to train him anyway. He took him anyway, right? And so this is a nice setup for making the story of Luke that we saw in the sequels more real, more important, and maybe in a way validates. I hate to use the word validates because it implies that something isn't valid, but in a way it validates some of the story decisions that were used in the sequels.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Pete. And I think that I just, again, I think this goes back to the point that we make all the time about the expansiveness of Disney Plus Star Wars and the fun that you can have with these characters. It's saying in a live chat, for example, I'll pull this comment up right now, is the fact that they think that maybe one more scene of Luke Skywalker popping up might make sense in The Mandalorian. And maybe that works. Maybe that's not in line with what you're just saying, but I could see Luke Skywalker maybe popping up once in the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, I think that's much more likely. Yeah.
And I could see him, Book of Boba Fett would make absolutely no sense, at least from what I understand that story to be right now.
Right. But
I think, if it's kind of like, if it's a thing where you can moderate how much you expose us to, I think that it can be a potential home run every time. I mean, let's be honest. We did get Luke Skywalker in this time period once already. We got him in Battlefront 2. And that little scene worked really well for me. Consistent with everything we learned in Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, you know, as far as like Luke looking around for artifacts. We know that Lando helped out with that. So this continues to refine what we already know. And so maybe, you know, maybe my dream of a Luke and Lando series isn't realistic. But if I can get Luke here and there to kind of connect these outside stories to the inner story of the Skywalker saga, and like me, I'll be really happy. I think a lot of fans will be happy with that. And then if it doesn't happen, I'm pretty sure a lot of fans will still be happy. And then there'll be some people that are always pissed off, and they'll make videos about it, and Lucasfilm will respond, and they'll make videos about them responding. And it's just a shit show, really. Why can't we all just have fun with Star Wars? It's not that hard. It's an escape. Christ. Okay, I'm done.
You're not going to pull me into that conversation, but I will say this. I do think it's really important that what they're doing with Luke, if they do it with just sort of smatterings, right? It gives us enough of that connection to the Luke that we saw later on. And I think that's what was brilliantly done with this. And I'll take more of that if it's done in small order. And I think, again, there's a chance. I would love to see an Ahsoka Luke meeting where Luke explains to Ahsoka that he saved his father and Anakin did turn and come back to the light, and, you know, see her well up in tears or whatever, just to finish that piece of the story. I think would be a huge payoff. But again, you can do that with a small amount of CGI in a 5-minute portion of an episode, and you get it from Ahsoka's perspective, which would be beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's right on the money. I like this question thrown out there from the live chat. Was just about to mention the comparison between Grogu and Din and Anakin and Shmi, where, you know, you're just really playing with the role of parenthood and the relationship between parent and child. I was about to say father and child, but, you know, it's that relationship that gets explored there, non-traditionally, that non-traditional relationship. You know, my parents are married. Not everyone has married parents. Some people have single parents. You know, some people, you know, their families look different. And so I think in a lot of different ways, I can see how that comparison can be made. I think that's really cool. So we've explored that. I think that we've pretty much settled on it. Less is more, just like Vader, just father like son, man. Little less
in every piece.
Yeah. It's also a great show. I'm really excited to talk about Christmas gifts, but I think it's that time of the show where we're supposed to do ranked. So I'm excited about this. I want there to be a better name for this, but I'm not there yet, folks. I don't have a better name for what we're about to do. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So basically what we're doing here is we're ranking the top 10, which is convenient because there are 10 future Star Wars stories to be told on Disney Plus. And so what I've done is I've ranked the 10. And then originally I was going to be like, hey, let's all shake it up. But no, here's my 10. Pete and Arzu are going to tell me where I went right, where I went wrong. And then at the end of it, we're going to get their ranking. If they just did 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I think it's gonna be like a lot of fun. This could get emotional, guys. I put a lot of blood and sweat equity into this, and I really hope everyone likes it. But it's not just gonna be our faces on the entire time, and that's what makes it feel better.
I mean, Arzu, yes, but you and me know that has to go.
Well, you know, we're gross. Okay, cool. So we'll see how well this works out. And if it works out the way I want it to, then that's just even better. So yes. Here's how it works. We've got the 10 future Disney Star Wars Plus stories on the list, and I've ranked them from 10 to 1. We're going to go through each one. Like I said, feedback. We want you in the live chat, or if you're watching on the rewind, be sure you give us your comments down below, and we will have the Star Wars conversation. So right off the bat here, and I'm swinging for the fences, droids. It's not exciting for me. I think it's interesting for anybody who wants to be able to explore the world through R2-D2 and C-3PO. I think there are some people on the internet that feel they are owed more C-3PO and R2-D2 because they were slighted in the sequel trilogy. Do I think it's a little bit inconsistent with the other two trilogies? Yes. Do I think a whole Disney Plus series is essential? I don't know. I would not be surprised somehow if this is where, in this animated series, I would not be surprised if maybe we got a Luke Skywalker to pop up, or a Lando, or a Leia, or a Han. I wonder if they're, just going on these adventures during the New Republic, but we know very little about it, and I care even less about it. So number 10 is droids. Quick reaction, Arzu, how do you feel?
Same. It's my
okay,
number
great.
10.
Pete?
I had it at number 10 also. Can't disagree.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Number 9, Visions. Okay, here's the thing. I think that people are super excited for the diversity that this series brings, and I agree. I think it's great the fact that you have, as Scotty J. Rowe shouted and blew many speakers on the internet, Star Wars anime! But when you peel back the fact that, yeah, it is Star Wars anime, and you do have these 10 unique Japanese storytellers telling these stories, I'm not that amped beyond this because I don't know anything else. All we know right now is it is Star Wars anime, and it's going to debut somewhere in 2021. Granted, just today, a lot of outlets are reporting that Disney has released its 2021 slate. I didn't see Star Wars Visions on there. I saw Bad Batch somewhere in 2021, doesn't give us designate a month, and you get Book of Boba Fett in December of 2021, and officially Mandalorian Season 3 moved to 2022. So right now, I don't know if Visions is even staying put in 2021. Last report says not so much. Pete, how do you feel about Visions number 9?
Well, we're 2 for 2, man. I had it at number 9. I'm curious about it, and I'm sure it'll be great, but it's not my top 3.
Arzu, am I being a jerk with this?
No, I didn't have it like it's in my bottom 5, but I'm curious because it has the potential to be weird and interesting, but I don't know very much about it. So
I can roll with that. All right, number 8, Lando. This is going to be controversial, I'm sure. Why are you putting Lando Calrissian at the bottom? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The Book of Boba Fett happened. And I did not plan on the Book of Boba Fett happening, and so I had to make some concessions, okay? This is probably going to be great Star Wars. In my head right now, I envision as Billy Dee narrating, Donald Glover exploring the galaxy. And if that's what happens, that is going to be fantastic. But here's some things to keep in mind that we don't have pegged down yet. I do not believe we officially have Billy Dee Williams pegged down to return as Lando. And Donald Glover is not confirmed as returning as Lando. So you got a Lando series here, but you got no actors talking about it, which to me right now isn't a concern. It's probably just too early on in the process. And maybe we're supposed to make assumptions as fans. But you know what? I've made assumptions as a fan before, and it didn't quite work out. We don't even know a release date. So we got no actors attached. We have no release date, but we have this sexy logo that seems to be consistent with the Lando aesthetic of Solo: A Star Wars Story. So I think that's why we assume Donald Glover is, involved also. Billy Dee's just a little older, and he can't move around as well. So for the lack of clarity of what we have and lack of actors attached to the series, I'm just not interested in it right now. This could change when we revisit this in the spring, but for winter 2020, don't give a rip. Arzu.
I also have Lando at number 8 just because Lando's like one of those guys where I'm not sure about, but I'm perfectly willing to be surprised like I was with Boba Fett. But for now, it's at number 8.
Pete, am I a bad Star Wars fan?
Nope. Yeah, I have it in the exact same spot. In fact, I would go so far as to say of all 10 of these series, this is the one that's most likely to not see the light of day if I was to put money on it.
Bold prediction from Pete Fletzer. Okay, well, coming in at number 7 here on Star Wars Ranked, Beyond the Blast Doors Ranked. I still don't know what I'm calling this thing, but I think it's fun. Bad Batch, the spinoff of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. You heard me praise this in the top 15 minutes of the show if you were paying attention. Of course you were, but maybe you joined late. Maybe you got to go back and rewatch. Either way, I'm putting Bad Batch here at 7 because I feel like I already know what this story is about, and I would love to be surprised. But from the footage that we've seen already, it looks to me like we are going to get the clones, this batch of clones through Order 66 and the transition between the Republic and the Empire. It looks like, we've seen shots of the Emperor, and we've seen shots of clones and not Jedi. And I'm just like, okay, I think I know what we're getting here. I hope it's a situation where we've seen a lot of stuff from like the first episode, and they're just going to blow us away with the rest of the season. Maybe I'm ungrateful, but I was very satisfied with the conclusion of Clone Wars in the spring. Very happy with how that story ended with that 4-episode arc, like I mentioned, tying up with Revenge of the Sith. So I didn't really need this. I think it's also weird when fans are like, well, I didn't need this story. Well, you don't need any of this, honest to God. You either want it or you don't. And if you don't want it, you watch it and then you end up liking it. Kind of like Arzu with Boba Fett. Didn't want it. Now she has it. Now she likes it. So for those reasons, I'm not in a Bad Batch. Excited that it drops in 2021. I think animation along with live action is essential for Star Wars. It really keeps fans happy when they want, to see multiple Star Wars things in a year. I think if you have the animation department working on this and your live action is doing this, that's a really good relationship. Arzu, agree, disagree?
Yeah, I agree with that point that I think it's good to have that mix of animation live action. I also put Bad Batch somewhere in the middle because I would have put this at the bottom, towards closer to the bottom, except for the fact that we saw like a flash of Fennec Shand in the trailer because I really like Fennec Shand. So if she's in this, then I'm much more excited for it now than I was when they first announced it.
I think it's a good take too, because again, it shows that canon connectivity that we love so much. And so we just got this character in Mandalorian. Okay, well, you want more of her? You're going to get her now in this Clone Wars spinoff, which is great because I kind of think that the character was once introduced, kind of was like left alone, like it kind of was absent in the last couple of episodes. Kicked a lot of ass, but like as far as like substance, really didn't get a lot. Excited for her in Bad Batch. Pete, is this maybe the first point where we really disagree?
Yeah, I have it up a little bit further, but I think the Return of the Clone Wars was really great for me, and I'm looking forward to it. One of the reasons I'm excited about it is because I know of all the things on here, this is the thing that me and my son are going to wait for every single week and watch together because he's a huge Bad Batch fan. So, but I think it's got potential to tell a really interesting story too, an interesting time in the story. So, yeah, I have it just a little higher up. You're not that far off from my thinking on it though.
And I like that we're kind of in line here, but we're gonna probably start soon disagreeing at some point. I put Rangers of the New Republic here. This is the Jon Favreau spinoff to The Mandalorian. He's working on this one. We know that Filoni is working on Ahsoka, currently writing those scripts right now. I like the idea of finding out what the New Republic looks like or what it's up to post Return of the Jedi. Kind of dabbles in the Aftermath series potentially. You've got Favreau working on this, and I like how he's kind of the orchestrator of this Star Wars streaming universe. It's going to look different from the MCU. I don't expect 22 multiple season series to be part of this streaming Star Wars universe or whatever they end up calling it. But if we get like 7 and they're all a couple of seasons and they all tell this really beautiful, large story over several years, I'm happy. But again, we don't know anything. Is this going to be the 2 Republic Rangers that we got in The Mandalorian? Is this going to be where we potentially see Cara Dune as a Ranger? I'm just not quite sure. And I think if I were to go back, I would already move this with Bad Batch. I think I'm more interested in Bad Batch than Rangers, but I think what has this in 6 is that it's Jon Favreau helmed, and based on 2 seasons of Mandalorian, I have no reason to think this will be anything less than fantastic. It gets harder from here to pick what should go where because it all gets really good. Pete, Rangers, where do you have it?
Yeah, I have it just I think 1 or 2 up higher than that, but not a big deal. And the only reason for it is because I think we're going to see some really interesting connections that we haven't seen before. And again, one of the things to keep in mind is as I choked to death on my coffee.
Don't die.
No, not right now. A little bit later. I think one of the things that we need to remember with Filoni is the king of bringing us things that we didn't know we would love, right? And and Rebels. I think this is going to be like Rebels in that regard. There's going to be a sub story that becomes the main story that we're all going to just go and love. But I love that it's going to be. I love it because it's going to be part of that bigger universe that they're sort of hyping up right now.
I think the live chat is going so fast. I can't keep up with it. We're getting rankings from Phoenix Night Flame, Anthony, YouTube fan, Sam Carey, Matthew, Blue Harvest. Like, it's incredible. I think it's just a sign that we should just keep going, and we'll dive in the live chat in a little bit. Number 5, I'm putting the Book of Boba Fett here at number 5. And I'm doing this and keeping in mind the Mandalorian Season 3 will not appear on this top 10. It will not appear on the top 10 because, to Arzu's point, before we did the show today, we already knew that Season 3 was happening. We already knew that Season 4 was happening. And if you want me to, I'll put Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian Season 3. That can all be in one here at number 5. This, for me, is something new. It completely shattered my ranking. This was something that I did not expect, and it made me rethink my top 5, and I chickened out almost in a way, and the top 5 plays like a top 1 A, B, C, D, E. You know, it's just, it's all so good. I want it all. There's no dislike for any of this stuff. We've gone through 6 titles so far. I don't have any dislike for any of these. I just want to make that absolutely clear.
Yep.
I'm telling you what I'm most excited for based from least excitement level to greatest excitement level. Book of Boba Fett, we know it's coming out next year in December. I think it's great that Star Wars and Disney continues to groom fans for something in December. It's a really great time, and it's not on the list either, but Star Wars Rogue Squadron with Patty Jenkins, I would hope to God they put it in the December time slot. You have it groomed, and I think it's a great way to get, if you want to get people back into movie theaters, because when you get to fall and winter of next year, you're going to have vaccinations out there. The world is going to be able to open back up. And granted, Patty Jenkins' movie doesn't come out till 2023. But again, I think that December time slot, really valuable. Book of Boba Fett, have no idea what it's about. We know it's got Boba. We got Fennec. Is he staying on Tatooine, or is he going across the galaxy? Is he teaming up with other bounty hunters? I don't know answers to any of those questions. I think it's great Star Wars. I'm excited to see how this goes forward. Do we have a creative on the Book of Boba Fett yet?
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez.
That's right. It is Robert Rodriguez.
Yep.
So another situation where I knew him as the guy who did the Spy Kids movies, which were about as great as the reaction as you just got. And then
Spy Kids movies.
What he did in the MCU, right? And now here you have another Marvel MCU guy, boom, playing it right into the Star Wars world. You're going to be telling some great Star Wars stories. So for all those reasons, I got him at 5. You could easily slide him up. You know, Pete and Arzu, you kind of winced at me on this one. Quick reactions. Arzu, you first.
I've got it much higher up on the list.
Well, there you go. Pete?
It's my number 1. I mean, you heard me. It was my top story of the year. I'd be lying if I didn't say this is the thing I'm the most excited about of the 10 things we've seen so far.
I think I'm putting it here also because I didn't want my excitement for its reveal, because the reveal was such a big deal, right? You just watched Luke Skywalker wreck, and then you get the reveal of Boba Fett. I'm trying to balance my excitement with how it was revealed to how much I care about the story to what I think it's going to mean to the Star Wars story.
Well, I think part of it is, I mean, it's a character that we've all kind of, well, not all of us, but it's a character that we now care about, and I think it's really important to see what happens. And again, just like your Bad Batch comment, Fennec Shand. So I've become, I think I'm going to make my Twitter an entire Fennec Shand Stan account, just because I don't know if you can do that. I don't know anything about the kids today and their Stan accounts, but I'll tell you what, it's going to become, or maybe I'll make one. I'll just make one, and then I can get abused in multiple places on the internet.
You don't need anyone's permission for that. All right, number 4 is Ahsoka. Dave Filoni, we know that this series is going to come out probably 2022, 2023. We know those scripts are underway right now that Dave is writing, and that may or may not have been a factor with how Mandalorian season 3 was also moved into 2022 instead of at the end of 2021. So what we know, it is that spinoff. Rosario Dawson is confirmed to be back as Ahsoka Tano. We also know that the creatives have talked about how they're going to modify her liqueur so that looks a little bit more accurate to the animated series, and also might allow her a little bit more movement for her stunts. So that's really exciting. The release date is not known, but the potential here for General Grand Admiral Thrawn to be announced as the big baddie, and potentially the big baddie of this Star Wars streaming universe. Because that's all potential and not confirmed, I have it at 4. If you were to tell me right now that Thrawn will 100% be in there, then I would probably have this 1 or 2 pegs higher. I don't think the reference in The Mandalorian is enough for me, but you know he's out there. You know he's out there, and I don't want to get too excited about Lars Mikkelsen returning as Thrawn, because again, that's not confirmed either. You could have a Benedict Cumberbatch, you could have a Christian Bale, you could have that silly, we'll get to it later. The guy who plays the Riddler in Batman is really popular choice. So because all these are like once, I've got it conservatively at 4, but if I had Thrawn confirmed for the villain, I would have this at 3 or 2. Pete, your reaction?
Yeah, I have it at number 2 just because I've become such a fan of the character, and Rosario Dawson was a pleasant surprise in the way she portrayed her, and so I just want to see more Ahsoka.
I think that's fair. Arzu, you don't look happy with me at all.
I've got it at like 5. I'm excited. I really, really like Ahsoka. I was less enthusiastic about Rosario Dawson's performance, but it felt to me like somebody cosplaying Ahsoka. It didn't feel like Ahsoka, but if she like has a bit more time to sort of become a part of it and sort of ease into the part, then my mind might change. But for now, that's where it is.
Yeah, I think it's just so tough, right? Because you've built this relationship with Ashley Eckstein's version of Ahsoka, and that's all we knew. Personally, I don't think that the live action transition could be any better. I do think though, if certain aesthetics are tweaked a little bit with the costuming, I think that might help us all fall and get it more immersed with the character. But
it wasn't the aesthetic; it was something like the soul wasn't there. Maybe she needs more time for it, but that's
interesting because we talked about that too. Where I think that she crushed it. I think Ahsoka's scared about Thrawn and what he's brought back, and so she's pissed and she's a little bit more aggressive than before. But that's okay. We'll talk about that later.
That's why I said the writing, like before when we were talking about it, I said the writing was good.
Yeah.
On Ahsoka, but it just didn't feel like it. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I teased it. There it is. It's Andor. It's number 3. No secret here because, well, my gosh, we only have 3 now, only 2 left to discuss. I put Andor here because I am a Rogue One stan. I was there from the beginning saying how I thought that Rogue One, I still think that Rogue One is the best Disney Star Wars movie. And I don't think it's close to any of the others. And I like the grittiness of it. And I think that it captures a lot of the aesthetic, it's a word I use a lot, of the original trilogy. Everything feels like it has texture. This, they're in real places. The sets were built. It's I could go there. That's what it feels like. And I think to get that with Andor and to see how Cassian is behaving leading up to Rogue One, I think that would be interesting. Again, it's the same challenge that you have with Rogue One. The character dies at the end of the story. So what are you going to do beforehand to get me to care even more, knowing the fate of this character? I think that's awesome as a storyteller to kind of give you all that background. I think you're going to get a lot of play. Maybe get the retelling of K2SO meeting up with Cassian. Not sure, but that would be cool. But for the fact that we have this series, it's in production. It debuts in 2022. That sizzle reel that we got on the Disney investor call was hot, and they're shooting this thing like a movie. So it's going to use some of the new technology that we've talked about with the streaming content. But as far as the scale, they're building movie-sized sets. They're treating this like a theatrical production. The scale of it really excites me. Pete, how do you feel about Andor, my top 3?
I have it as number 7 on my list. I'm excited, but it's funny. I loved Rogue One. I like it a lot. It's a really great movie. It's a lot of fun, but I don't know if I need to visit Cassian Andor again. But when you said K2SO, it might have bumped up one to me because Cassian is my favorite character or one of my favorite characters, my favorite droid. And if there's any way we can get Krennic back, I'm all in. So I don't think we will, but I love Krennic. He's one of my favorites.
Any reference? I mean, my God, can you imagine Ben Mendelsohn returning to play that character? It would just be absolutely fantastic.
That'd be the best. Yeah.
Arzu, the fanboy in me, is sweating. Should I calm down? Oh, okay. So run.
I'm excited for it. Like it's my top, I guess, 5 is just a question of like how excited I am about it today. I guess like 2 through 5. Number 1 is not changing ever. Okay. But yeah, like I'm excited. I liked Cassian, so I was sad when they all died at the end of the movie. So I'm like, I guess that's it for these people. But I'm glad that I was wrong.
Well, unless they ever decide to give us that original 3rd act, and then we can know how it might have turned out.
No one's ever really gone. We know this for a fact.
Oh,
true. This is true.
Oh my God!
They may have survived the blast somehow, but
hamming it up. Oh God. Okay, so here we are. We're at the top 2, and I mean, obviously it's between one or the other, right? So when I hit 2, I'm giving away 3. But here we go. Acolyte number 2. I think this is just really interesting. I think my interest is piqued because I think that this speaks to a larger issue. How valuable will the High Republic story be to the Star Wars fan experience? How integral will it be? We are not as aggressive as I thought originally with this era. I thought we were going to be thousands of years back, and I thought this was going to be Old Republic. And they're like, no, this is the High Republic.
The end of the High Republic.
I think we're going to be like 400 years in the past. No, this thing is like 90 years before the Phantom Menace, right?
The books are 200 years, and I
but
think
the series takes place
50.
90.
It's like 50.
50-ish. Okay, cool. So that's one thing that pisses me off about this series is the timeline's changing every time a new article drops. But Leslie Headland involved really excites me, and her involvement already makes this a top 5 project for me. Really enjoyed Russian Doll. I know that this thing, it's supposed to kick off January of 2021. Well, I take that back. High Republic kicks off in January of 2021. We don't know when this series drops. It's like in the early stages. So this could be early 2022, but it could be as late as early 2023. So this could be one of those projects later down the road. And maybe that's going to be great because we're going to have all this High Republic content over the next couple of years, and that really builds it up. Man, Arzu, I don't know. This one I felt like I had to put it in my top 3 because it's the newest point in the Star Wars timeline that we get to explore, and it's all brand new characters except for Yoda. So I'm curious what this female-centric story will be. I assume this has to be in your top 3.
Yeah, it's my number 3. But like I'm so excited for it because like you said, it's a new point in the timeline. It's all new characters, and if it's as associated with the High Republic books as I hope it is, then it's going to be Jedi-centric and freaky Force stuff, which is my favorite Star Wars stuff. So this makes up for something like Rangers of the New Republic, which is sounds like a cop show, which is not my kind of thing. So it's just not my kind of TV. So
and Blue Harvest is here to verify Arzu. It is 50 years. So Arzu was correct. Arzu, what was that last point? I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just excited for it because it's Jedi before we've ever seen them. Like the earliest point where visually seeing Jedi, because even High Republic books, they're books. Right. But this is like a series.
I think this is where I'll be more interested. I don't know how much of the book and comics I'll consume, as much as I possibly can. But I think the screen is where I'm going to get into High Republic the most. I think that's where they're most likely to grab my attention. Is that the same for you, Pete?
Yeah, I'll probably. I'm not sure how I feel about the new or the High Republic. I'm excited about it. It's going to be cool stuff. This actually fell to number 6 for me. This did not make my top 5. I'm excited by, as you said, these are top 10. It's like 1A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see where it goes. But I think probably I'm sort of polar opposite of you guys in that since I know nothing about it, I'm having a difficult time getting excited about it. I do want to see what Leslie Headland does. I think this comes out in 2023. I think 2023 is the year of the woman for Star Wars stories. So I think we're going to, I think we'll see it come out around that time. Yeah. I mean, of course I'm excited. I love the logo, but it looks like a comic book, and that's, I'm not a big comic book guy, so it'll be interesting.
For my number 1, if these are my 10 through 2, then obviously my number 1 is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I just, to me, I think that I was always interested in this one of the most because Ewan McGregor coming back. And to me, he is one of the top 5 reasons why you should love the prequels. To get that actor back to play that role in that time frame, 10 years after Revenge, 9 years prior to A New Hope. And then it's everything else we've learned since. The fact that Hayden is back, that's either meaning throwback and flashbacks, or we're getting him in the suit as Vader. It's been teased both. It could be both.
Yeah, I like the idea of both. Yeah.
The fact here's where I am interested. There was a report that dropped right before the Disney investor call in December, and it talked about how production had been moved up to January. Kathleen Kennedy comes out on the call and says, no, it's in March. We're probably not seeing this series until 2022 at the earliest, and I would think that this would be the December 2022. But you have Mandalorian season 3. So does Mandalorian season 3 stay in the December time slot, or does it move up? Or do you think that maybe we could get Obi-Wan Kenobi in the spring and the Mandalorian would stay in that winter release in December? I don't know. I want to believe that we see this in 2022. Also, it could be a thing where it is till 2023 and it complements maybe. It's what we get on Disney Plus that year because we're getting a theatrical release in theaters that same year. That's all speculation. But to me, it's like it's just not even close. With Deborah Chow as the director, we loved what she's done with the first season of Mandalorian. I mean, it took her 30 minutes to convince us that she was someone that needed to helm a Star Wars movie or something, and then she got Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I think it's great. It's going to be a lot more than Obi-Wan Kenobi getting drunk with Tusken Raiders and taking down Krayt Dragons, even though we also know that looks kind of cool with Cobb Vanth. Okay, so that's where I stand on this. Arzu, I know that you agree with me, but Pete, why is this not your top number 1?
Because Boba Fett's number one, and this is number three for me. And it's only because somewhere, as much as and you heard me say it before, I'm so excited about this series. Ewan coming back is huge. Hayden coming back is huge. The fact that it's a finite series is actually really important. It makes it more appealing to me because it's going to be an open and closed story. But the reason it's not number one for me is because I was not excited when I first heard about it, right? And so it's number three for me. I mean, I go my 1, 2, 3 are Boba, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan. And again, it's A, B, and C. But to me, I cannot wait to see the story. And again, one of the things that Star Wars has done so well is that subvert expectations, right? We never know what to expect in these shows. We had no idea what we were going to get from Mandalorian, and it has become, I've said it before, depending on the day, it's my favorite of all Star Wars, and I've been a fan for 43 years. So I don't know what we're going to get, but it wasn't enough to push it to number one for me, although I cannot wait for it. It's going to be really exciting.
Arzu, you are so happy with me right now, aren't you?
So excited about this series. Like, from day one, they're like, Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. I'm like, sure. And they're like, series. I'm like, even better. Limited series. Beautiful. Like, whatever they say, I'm like, yeah. I'm there. I'm ready. Like, this is my favorite character. So this is it. I totally agree with your assessment.
Hey, it's the winner of 2020. 2020 is almost behind us. This is my top 10 ranking of the 10 future Disney Plus titles, and this could be shattered by tomorrow if they decide to drop another Disney Plus series. But as it stands, here's my top 10, and here's the order. Whether you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comment section. Tell me why, so that way we can continue this Star Wars conversation. Before we pivot, real quick, Pete, read off. Since we've kind of explained everything, just read off your order
Sure.
of 10.
Yep, 10 from 10 to 1. Droid Tales number 10. Number 9 is Visions. Number 8 is Lando. 7 is Andor. 6 is Acolyte. 5 is Bad Batch. 4 is the Rangers of the New Republic. Number 3 is that Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Ahsoka is number 2, and number 1 is Book of Boba Fett.
Awesome. Well, real quick. Oh, well, that didn't work out. Yikes. And the screen went white. Real quick, because we have a couple of fan questions. But I also
what about my top 10? Nobody wants to hear my top 10.
Yeah, what's your top 10? What's your top 10? I just feel like you and I have a similar top 10. I'm sorry. Top 10.
Okay. 10 is Droids, 9 is Rangers, 8 is Lando, 7 Visions, 6 is Bad Batch, 5 is Ahsoka, 4 is Andor, 3 is Acolyte, 2 is Boba Fett, and 1 is Obi-Wan.
Okay, so
yeah, I got it.
I feel like I'm a douche for not having Boba Fett higher. And so I'm going to apologize now, because I feel like you could rip me for Bad Batch being low. Boba Fett probably should be higher. And after hearing myself talk, Acolyte probably moves down. But that's the fun thing about this. And I think what we'll do is we'll do this like once a month, or we'll do this like once a quarter or something. When we get substantial news about all the projects, we'll see if they move around. But I think that this Beyond the Blast Doors ranked could be a lot of fun for us to do on the show. And we got people sharing their ranking. So that's really exciting. Sam Carey has his. He puts Kenobi number 1, Boba Fett 2, Acolyte 3, and then you kind of see the rest play out. I kind of feel like that the top 5 and the bottom 5 are kind of going to be consistent. There'll be that one maybe that really throws us all for a loop. But I think it's really fun to see where people whether there's consistency. And I like this point too. Frammy saying, remember Pete and James Bainey talking about this on Around the Galaxy, and there definitely wasn't excitement expressed in that conversation. So that's interesting.
Very true.
Sam Carey, his point, if it is 50 years before then, so we're talking about Acolyte, Sheev will be around 2. So I think Plagueis is a possibility, but we won't get a young Palpatine casted unless it's a cameo with him as a baby. I think Plagueis reference would be huge.
I think, but I wouldn't write out Palpatine. I don't think we know enough about Palpatine and what the Force dark side Sith stuff does to him and all that. So
let's not forget, this is a female-centric show. It's not going to be
correct
Palpatine like a teenager. It's not young Palpatine. It's not
maybe yeah, maybe
it's not like a young Sheev show because it is female-centric.
Right.
But
well, and I think it's
I won't write out references though if it is Freaky Force stuff.
And I think that's maybe his point. I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think it's well documented. Acolyte's gonna be female led, but the female lead's master is Plagueis, and she fails, and that's why Plagueis has to move on to Sheev. I don't know. I don't care at this point, honestly.
Can I ask a quick question? Is the Plagueis novel canon?
No,
it's not. So conceivably, Plagueis could be a woman.
Oh.
Hot take.
Ooh, man.
Could be.
Okay,
Ooh,
Lord
boy.
Plagueis is a he in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to. Yeah, he does say he didn't. All right, never mind.
His Padawan killed him. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That theory got ruined.
Well,
Like he had a power that blah 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 blah. Yeah.
We have to be all knowing at all times, guys. We're on YouTube.
Come on, though. Don't you all have the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise like memorized?
I
Was
just
it ever printed?
For meme purposes.
well,
I-
the good
they
news
should
is
write
that
that.
means that nobody can like attack me for saying that Disney shill wants Plagueis to be a woman. Good, but
So here's this. I will say this. So we've got 2 fan questions, and I want to talk about our Christmas gifts real quick. And it's already 1 o'clock, and I'm gonna have to leave here shortly because I have to work today. So
your job.
let's do this real quick. We're gonna do the questions, and then we'll have our Christmas gifts ready, and then we're gonna blast out of here. So for fam, the Star Wars talk isn't over, but it's wrapping up quickly. Ion Cannon. Here's this question. Ion Cannon asks, "Do you think High Republic will draw in more fans to the books and comics, or just continue to excite the normal print crowd?" I love this animation until I had to read the whole thing, and then I realized it doesn't work out quite as well for me. Well, guys, I think that's a fair question, and I honestly think I need to look at that question again. Do you think that we'll draw more fans? Comics? You know what? I think it's niche. You know, my theory is that the audience that watches the movie is a lot more that reads the comics and books. Arzu, what do you think?
I'm excited for it, but I don't think this is getting a brand new audience for the books. I hope it does, but I don't think so.
Pete, what about you?
I totally agree. I think it could expand the comics readers. Like I'm more likely to go out and buy comics for this because I want to keep up with the story. But I already read as many of the books as I can keep up with, and I don't think it's going to bring in again. I always use my dad as an example. I don't think he's going to care that much, even if Acolyte has a direct connection.
All right, I can roll with that. Hey, now that we won't get Mandalorian until 2022, Matthew asks, I'm all about the Book of Boba Fett in December. What character do you want to see show up in that show? I really want Cad Bane. I think Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders would make the perfect play for
That's
Cad. Thoughts? And I'm going to say that bring Cad Bane back, hashtag. I'm going to own that in 2021, fam.
It's all yours, man.
Freaking own that. Because I want to see Cad Bane back, and I think that this is a really good potential. I think it's a really good potential that we get him back in this series.
Yeah.
So I'm all about it. I support it. Pete, where do you stand?
I want to see Daniel Logan as young Boba Fett back, younger Boba Fett, perhaps. I think that would be just a cool connection. I hope it's a story full of flashbacks. I hope it's where part of Make Solo 2 happens. I think we're going to see, I'd love to see Alden Ehrenreich back as Han Solo for a single episode.
That would be wild. Because what if it's a young Han and Chewie that show up? Oh wait, that doesn't work. That does not work out because timeline doesn't work at all. Never mind.
But I'd like to think of, and when I had Adam Frazier on my show, and he talked about what we'd like to see from that show, and I agree with him. I'd like to see it be chapters that sort of tell his story to where he is at the same time, sort of connecting, moving forward. So let me see him meet Cad Bane. Let me see him meet Han Solo. Let me see him. Let me see him get out of the Sarlacc pit. Let me see him lose his armor to the Jawas. So
I dig that. Yeah. So through flashback, you could go back and see an Alden Ehrenreich, Han Solo, and Chewie. That's super cool. I dig it. Arzu, what's your take?
I don't have any specific characters I want to see, but I do want to see him get out of the Sarlacc pit. And I'm dying for Boba to go back to Kamino. It didn't happen in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's what I want. So
I think that would be awesome. Great, guys. That was awesome. And I want to say thanks to everyone for sending those questions. And just so you know, you can always tweet us your Star Wars question. We'll put out a post on Monday and Wednesdays. And if you can tweet us your Star Wars questions, we'll do our best to fit them in. We try and do anywhere from 2 to 5, just depends on how many we get. But always, please, at B2BD Star Wars, you can even use the hashtag Beyond the Blast Doors to get those questions on the show. Before we get out of here, Arzu, what'd you get for Christmas?
Okay, I got a few interesting Star Wars things. I got a Mando Monopoly, which you can it's covered by the wreath.
No, wait, I got
Mando Monopoly, which I found super cute. I got Star Wars playing cards. My boy Cal Kestis.
Love that
in
one.
Funko form with Trilla on the way. The mail service is a little slow. And then another Shakespeare book. So I think it's definitely a thing next year that I will be going through all of these. So I got Tragedy of the Sith's Revenge. So
and how many do you have now? Do you have all of them?
I have almost all of them. I've ordered Attack of the Clones and the Rise of Skywalker. So they're on the way. And then that'll be it. Then
Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you, Arzu.
Thank
You know, we didn't get to do the show last week, but I'm glad that we're able to still celebrate the holidays some way. We have a wreath on our logo, for Christ's sakes. I mean, this is holly jolly Christmas right here. And the lights, those are
beautiful.
LEDs.
It's beautiful.
Pete, what's the one Christmas gift that's got you just so thankful for the
I
holidays?
got a couple things, but the thing that I'm most excited to do is
Oh, he got the Falcon, you son of a gun.
not the ginormous one, but this one's pretty big, man. This one's like it's like 1,400 pieces. So yeah, so me and the kids are going to work on that, which means that basically I'll be working on it while my son puts together the minifigs, and yeah, that's the way we'll do it. But I'm
okay,
excited.
but I will tell you this.
Yeah.
If I could go back in time, I would not buy the Force Awakens Falcon, and I would have waited for this one, because this is the first Falcon set of all 13 that they've put out. This is the first one where the top dome doesn't have like gaps. It's actually perfectly round. You've got the best Falcon for the best price, as far as I'm concerned. That is a great find. That is a great Lego holiday gift, and I hope you enjoy putting it together.
Really big $900 one.
The $800 one, I think it doesn't have the gaps either. But the building they did for that is different. So they did it like in quarters, and the regular Lego Star Wars Falcon they do in like fins. So they all kind of fold in. So this is you can see it here. I'll put Pete on full screen. You don't have any of those gaps. That is a fantastic looking build. That is a fantastic looking build. So that's awesome. I'm really happy for you there. Okay, so this is what I got. So every year my parents ask me for a list. I put 3 things: one cheap, one medium, one expensive, and then I put a Lego Star Wars set because I know that they won't get it for me because they have like an ethical issue with getting me Legos at 28 years old. So my sister found this set, and this set is no longer available for purchase. So that's why she wins Christmas. But I got the Razor Crest.
Woo-hoo!
Can I get it?
Yes, that's nice.
Oh my God, I got it. Oh, I keep hitting my mic, but I'm just like overjoyed. You can kind of see it. The lights really put a nice little glow. I didn't realize that did it around. But yeah, that's I got the Razor Crest. So I'm super excited about that. I think they're supposed to be rebranding the Razor Crest because it fell. Rebranding the Razor Crest for like some copyright issue. Pete let me know. I posted on social the other day, and he's like, well, if you just take it out of the box, you've already have it finished. So
that's right.
That's a morbid Star Wars humor.
I finished mine just a day ago, so that was a lot of fun. So, but
guys, it's 107. I'm thankful that we could still come together and close out this year together. It's been hellacious, but a lot of my favorite memories this year do include the two of you and everyone joining us for our live shows, and those who comment on the Rewind, and this community that we're building. It's growing, and I just really look forward to hanging out with you guys in 2020. You are my social activity. I can't go out to bars or restaurants or the movies. Like, we hang out, and I'm really thankful for it.
Same here, man. This is a lot of fun every single week, and I'm glad Arzu has joined the team and has really she's added definitely an additional needed perspective, which is great. Thank you.
Arzu, I'm so excited to fanboy over Hayden Christensen next year with you.
My hometown boy.
Is he really?
He's a good Canadian boy.
He's a Canadian, but his hometown's like an hour away from mine.
In Canada, though, that's next door, so that's fine.
Honestly, though, it's actually not that far technically. So
Canada, it's like a loft above a really great party. Hey, okay, so
goodness,
it's a joke. It's a joke.
This is where the real party is, and everybody knows it.
Oh,
girl, you know it. Oh, I love you so much. That was so great. That was so perfect. Mwah, chef's kiss. Hey, we're thankful for you. If we can't say it enough, it's been a lot of fun. May you have a happy, joyous, and safe end of this year. By the day, fewer and fewer people are getting out of here unscathed. It's just, this year's wild. So let's hope for as crappy as 2020 was, maybe for you. I hope 2021 brings you so much more joy. For Arzu, for Pete, and for myself, we are so thankful that you have joined us for the Star Wars conversation. That's what we call it here on Beyond the Blast Doors. It's a Star Wars conversation. Movies, comics, TVs, cosplay, collecting. We talk about it all. Welcome to our Star Wars conversation. We will see you in the new year. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.